Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. My name is Art Burns. I'm really excited to be here with you today. And I want to take the moment and just wish everybody, all of my American friends here, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great time yesterday, wherever you were, whomever you were with, and however much you were eating. I hope that it wasn't too much, but I hope that it was enough. And if it was too much, I hope you enjoyed it anyway. And, there's always today to eat a little less and balance things out, right? And so don't identify with yourself. Don't identify yourself with somebody who just is an overeater on Thanksgiving. Identify yourself as somebody who is a good, awesome person who just had a little too much to eat, and that's going to play into what I'm going to talk about today. But first, all of my friends who are outside of the U.S., well, I hope that you had a great day yesterday too. I hope that it was a wonderful Thursday, and I hope you're having a great day today. So, non-identification, right? This is a very, very crucial aspect to everything that we've been talking about this week, right? We've been talking about self-regulation all week long, right? Everything up till yesterday, I talked about the pause, right? Which is that moment that we can give ourselves to turn down the dials and regulate ourselves. But what is the point of regulating ourselves? Right now, there's a practical matter of regulation, right? Which is that we want to express what we really, not only what we're really feeling, but we want to express that which is beneficial to us and to those around us, right? And when we're dysregulated, right, that's when we leave ourselves open to the idea of, or the vulnerability to saying something or doing something that is not going to serve us, right? So, saying something that's going to hurt someone, saying something that's going to cause consequences that are going to cause further triggers of our emotion, that's going to kind of lead us down this vicious cycle of reactivity and consequence and try attempted recovery and all of these things. What it does is it takes us away from who we really are. And it takes us away from the opportunity to show up for our lives as our authentic selves. Okay, now this is very, very important, not just from the practical matter, right? Because that's what we want, right? We want to express ourselves for who we really are, right? Like that's always the goal, right? That's always the beneficial way to go, right? As opposed to expressing ourselves as just somebody who's overcome with stress, or someone who's is very sad about something, or very emotionally reactive, right? When we put that out there, we're not generally going to find very good results from something like that, right? And so the idea is when we can regulate the process of our emotions. And remember, it's never about not feeling the emotions, right? Or it's never about trying to stifle or block or even control the emotions, right? What we're doing is we're regulating our reactions to the emotions, or our expression of the emotions. And even that, it's not to say that you don't want to express your emotions. You do, right? Finding a healthy and constructive way to express all of our emotions, even anger and jealousy and things like this. The more that we can express it, the healthier we're going to be, and the less it's going to cause us stress, right? Because the minute we try to control something like this is the minute we start to feel a sense of fear, right? Because honestly, you can't really control it, right? So you're going to be in this place of thinking like, okay, I'm making it worse, or I'm failing here. And once you start feeling that, now you're going to be feeling that stress, and that is only going to add to that reactivity. And that's part of that vicious cycle that I talk about, right? We get into this kind of, just a cycle of like, okay, I messed up here. Now I'm feeling, this emotion based on messing up, and now I'm going to react to something because, I'm trying to resolve this emotion, and now all of a sudden one of my children, spills a bowl of cereal, and now instead of reacting or responding to this bowl of cereal being spilled, in a constructive way, and just, teaching a lesson to my child about how to be a little bit more careful, take their time, whatever. Instead, I'm going to react, and I'm going to say, oh gosh, how could you do that? And now what have I done? I've created a conflict now with my child, right? And now I'm going to have to deal with that consequence, right? And now it keeps going, right? Because as I'm trying to resolve the feeling, the emotional feeling that I'm having for having snapped at my child like that, now what happens when my other child comes in and wants something from me? I'm not really there with them, right? I'm not able to really be present with anything that's going on as long as I'm trying to, resolve these emotions, right? So it all starts with the ability to regulate my reaction and go from reaction to response, a healthy, contemplated and measured response as opposed to reaction, right? Because then we cut that off, right? There's no, further and further and further consequences that keep happening, right? And so ultimately, what this all kind of culminates in is something that is really, really very, very important, but is so seldomly understood or even paid attention to in most people in modern society, right? And that is the concept of resonance, right? Now, I've talked about this before here, and I hope that you all kind of understand what I'm saying, but I'm going to go over it a little bit more today because it's really, really so important, right? The idea is that now contemplative practices and spiritual practices and religions and everything have been talking about resonance for thousands of years, very literally thousands of years, okay? But most of us, right, don't pay attention to this at all, right? We don't either necessarily realize that it's there, and we don't necessarily pay attention to it, and we don't necessarily kind of worry about it, let's say, okay? But the fact of the matter is, and maybe most of us don't even believe in it, right? But the fact of the matter is that even though this has been something talked about by contemplative practices and spiritual practices and religions for literally thousands of years, in the last 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, neuroscientific research, right? Hard-nosed research of really, very much, scientists, right? Not spiritual people, not religious people, but scientists, right? Have determined unambiguously, right, through years and years and years of research that we do have this resonance, right? This resonance is something that is happening all the time, no matter what, right? It is never neutral, right? It is never not there, right? But the fact is that in every instance, in every moment of every single day, you are giving off a measurable energy, right? Which is this resonance, right? You are resonating something, right? Now, one really beautiful way to illustrate this, a metaphor that Jack Kornfield talks about a lot, is he says, when you walk into a violin store, right? And there's, a whole wall of violins hanging on the wall, right? If you were to pluck one string off of that, off of one of those violins, every single one of those violins is going to sound from the, not touching any of the other violins, but just touching this one, the rest of them are going to sound. That is resonance, right? The vibration from the strings of this one violin is going to vibrate the strings and the bodies of these other violins, and they're all going to resonate this sound, right? And so the same thing happens with people, right? When you walk into a room, right, and make no mistake about this, right? Again, this is hard-nosed science at this point, right? It is not just a woo-woo concept, right? But in a scientific level, when you walk into a room, right, you are giving off an energy, right? Just like the sound from the strings of a violin, right? And that energy is going to impact every other person with whom you interact. And this can be somebody who you're in the same room with, or it can also be somebody on a Zoom meeting, or I was on a call with people from, in the UK this morning, thousands of miles away, and yet they were talking about the energy that they felt coming from me, right? And so if I was a dysregulated person, what kind of energy do you think I'm giving off? What is it that I'm resonating if I am a dysregulated person? Well, whatever I'm going to be resonating is that which I am dysregulated, right? So maybe I'm angry about something that happened this morning, or I'm afraid of something that might happen tomorrow, or I have whatever conflict is going on in my mind, right? If I'm grappling with this thing, then that is the resonance that's going to come through, right? And what do you think feels better to somebody, right? The resonance of the energy of my authentic self and my presence and my my authenticity, or the resonance of this conflict that I'm dealing with, and this beating myself up over something, or really being worried about something, or what have you, right? 9, 10 times out of 10, it's going to be the former, right? And so how important is this in our lives, right? Well, I mean, as a parent, it's very obvious, right? Like, I talk about this all the time, right? That when you're in a situation with your kids, right? If you have this inner turmoil going on inside of you, right? No matter how much you think you're putting on a happy face, no matter how much you think you're fooling everybody around you, your children or your spouse or whoever else, you're really not. Now the thing is about this resonance is that nobody can really, nobody's going to sit there and say like, oh, I can tell you're going through something right now. That's not how it works, right? It's just this general feeling. Right? There's an old saying that is applied to the business world quite a bit that says, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. Right? And so that's what we're talking about with this resonance, right? And so when, again, how this applies to the regulation issue, right, is that so often when we lack regulation of our emotions and our reactions to our emotions, and this can not even just be an outward reaction, but even an internal reaction, right? If we're feeling guilty about our emotions of some sort, right? Like, it's very possible to feel an anger towards somebody and feel this conflicted guilt about the anger that we're feeling, right? And so there's a lot of stuff that can be going on inside of us at any given moment, right? And so the important thing, or the valuable thing that I'm trying to explain to you today, is that is what is coming out, right? That is what people are feeling around you, right? And so the important thing that I want you to know, right, is that you are not your emotional conflicts. You are not the success or failure at whatever endeavor you're going for. You are not the person who has whether you have a gray hair or black hair, or overweight or fit, or tall or short, or whatever, right? You are not all of that. You are a dynamic, amazing, and very, very special human being. And so at any given time, you have the choice to resonate that, right? You have the choice to resonate the beauty and the dynamic capabilities that you have. Okay, you have the ability and the opportunity to resonate compassion, to resonate altruism, to resonate kindness, to resonate self-compassion, right? There's a wonderful doctor who works with self-compassion, who has her name is Dr. Kristen Neff, and during one of the talks that I attended with her, she actually tells a story about her child who is autistic, right? And she found that when she was, she tells a story of one time when she was on a transatlantic flight with her autistic son, who was at the time, I think was like 9 years old or something like that, very young kid, and he was having a meltdown, which is what happens with children with autism. And she so she like kind of carried him back to the restroom, but the restroom was full, so she's standing there at the back of the plane, and her son's just absolutely just losing it and melting down, and she found that when she, turned from trying to fix him, trying to placate him or calm him down or whatever level, when she instead turned towards regulating herself, right? And she turned towards, compassion for herself, right? And telling herself, like, look, this is a difficult moment, but I'm not the only one who's ever experienced this difficulty, and it's okay, and I'm going to help myself get through it. When she did that for herself, and she regulated her nervous system and her emotions back down to a baseline, all of a sudden her son started to calm down. Okay, so again, when she focused on getting her son to calm down, that wasn't working at all. Okay, that was like that was doing nothing, right? That just kept her son, it was almost like she kept fueling the fire, right, of what was happening, and her son was getting, more and more and more hyper aroused and expressive in a very explosive way that was, very negatively impacting everybody else who was trying to have this, and it was like just when they turned the lights off on the plane. I mean, I feel so strongly for this woman, what she went through. But again, when she tried to fix this thing on the outside, it wasn't working. But when she turned herself inside and she regulated herself, that energy resonated out back to her son, and her son then fed off of that energy. Right? Now, of course, this is just one example, and you don't have to be, we don't have to be talking about an autistic child for this to apply, right? The same thing happens when again, anytime you walk into a room, right, you're giving off this energy, this resonance, right? Whether it's a happy resonance, an unhappy resonance, angry resonance, shameful resonance, whatever it is, this is what you're giving off. Right? It's never neutral. It's never zero. It's never not there. And that's the sense that we sometimes have, right? Is that, well, I'm having a bad day, but it's me. I'm just having this bad day. It shouldn't affect anyone else. As long as I don't say anything, as long as I don't do anything that's going to hurt anybody, then I'll be fine. Everybody's be fine. But that is not how it works, right? The fact of the matter is that everyone with whom you interact is feeling what you are going through, right? And in fact, I mean, this is again, it's very, very, shown very, very unambiguously in exhaustive science, right? That when you see somebody, stub their toe, right? You think, ow, oh, that hurts me, right? Like I feel that in my body, right? That's the resonance that we're talking about, right? And again, it's never not there, okay? And so one of the things that I'm going to invite you all to kind of, consider in the next couple days or however long you're able to do it, and hopefully it's something that you can do for the rest of your life, right, is that we can always bring awareness to the resonance that we're putting off, right? And this works really, really well when it's in conjunction with an intention. Right? When we set an intention, what we're doing is we're putting our attention on this thing, right? And there's a really brilliant saying in the work that I do and many others do, is that where attention goes, energy flows, right? So as I'm paying attention to what it is that's going on inside of me, right, I'm automatically devoting some energy into regulating that thing that is going on inside of me. So what I'm going to invite you all to do this week, starting tomorrow, is in the morning, set an intention. Just take a few seconds is all it takes. Is just sit there, get present with yourself, take a few deep breaths, just really try to be present, try to let go of all of the worries about what's happening at work and all that kind of stuff. And tomorrow's Saturday, so it's a great day to try this, and just try to let go of all of that and just be really present with the intention to be aware of the resonance that you're giving off. Okay? And then throughout the day, try to check in with that. Okay, try to, whether it's, a very regulated thing like every, 30 minutes, or maybe it's just, during, attached to certain activities that you're doing throughout the day, right? Like just like the pause, or maybe it's during the pause that I talked about yesterday, right? Every time that you pause, check in with how your resonance is aligned or is not aligned with the intention that you set, right? Because this is going to help you to, again, pay attention to it, right? Where attention goes, energy flows, right? And it's going to remind you to work on your regulation, because, again, regulation starts with awareness. Right? We have to be aware of our emotions before we can regulate them. Right? And so bring that in, okay? Invite that into your sort of consciousness, right? This understanding and this awareness of the energy that you're giving off. Right? I almost used the word vibe right there, but that's what it is. And again, that goes back to this very woo-woo concept, but it's backed up by hard-nosed neuroscience at this point. And I can show you the research if you need to see it, okay? And if you'd like to see that, then hit me up and I will show it to you. But really, bring awareness to the resonance that you're giving off. Okay, it's very, very valuable. As I said, whether you're a parent, a manager, just a citizen of the world, right? When you come into interaction with others, right, they are feeling what is going on inside of you. So remind yourself that you have this power, this awesome, amazing power to impact people around you. Right? And with understanding that, right, you can really do some amazing things. And I want you to do amazing things because you're amazing. And you deserve the opportunity to do amazing things, because when you do amazing things happen to you. And that's the way life works. Okay? Because again, this resonance becomes a 360-degree cycle thing, right? Because the more I'm giving off a positive resonant energy, right, the more somebody else is going to react to that, and then they're going to feel good and positive, and then they're going to give that resonance off, and I'm going to feel that, and I'm going to feel good. So it becomes a very sort of symbiotic cycle between all of us. Right? And so this is an act of altruism and compassion and kindness as well. And those things alone are going to be good for you emotionally, physically, and mentally. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I love this topic of emotional resonance, or empathic resonance, as it's called, or limbic resonance sometimes. If you have any questions about this, okay, I know I've talked a lot here. I was up really early this morning, so I hope I didn't miss anything. Sometimes after I record these videos, I'm like, oh, I forgot to say that. And so if there's anything that you have a question about, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, okay? I'm going to remind you to do all the YouTube things, right? Do all the things, the like, the comment, the share, the subscribe, hit the little notification bell to make sure that you get notified every time I release new content, although it's pretty predictable. And if you're on the podcast, I ask you to give me a rating, okay? Wherever you're listening to it, there's always a place where you can give a rating to the podcast. Be honest. Be kind, but be honest. And yeah, the more of this sort of interaction that we have, the more ratings I get, the more likes, shares, and subscribes that I get. This increases the visibility of the podcast and the YouTube channel, and just gets me in front of more people. And that's the name of the game here. I want to reach as many people as I can. I want to help as many people as I can. You never know who might need to hear this today. So if you can, please just take a couple of seconds and do those things. I would really appreciate it. And then lastly, I want to remind you that I'm also offering a complimentary coaching session on my website. Okay, all you have to do is go to artburnscoaching.com. You'll see a button there that says book a call. You just go in there. It's free. No credit card numbers, nothing. You're just going to go into my calendar. You're going to find a time and a day that works for you. Just click on it, enter in, I think it's your email, maybe your phone number, I have to check. it's just a couple, it'll take you a total of maybe 90 seconds to do this, and then we'll be booked, and then you just follow my instructions. I'll send you an email with a link. We'll get together on this call, and I'll be here to listen to you and to help to coach you in all these kind of things that we're talking about, and really apply it to your life. And we can do this in the first 45-minute session, and I would love for you to experience that. A lot of my clients, I get such great feedback from people, the help that they've gotten from this work, and I would love to give you a sample of that. So if you're interested in that, just go over to artburnscoaching.com. Again, it'll take no more than 90 seconds, and it might be the most important 90 seconds that you ever spend in your life. So give it a shot. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Wish you well. Have a great weekend, and I'll be back again on Monday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.